Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. In this edition, we're having a chat about why therapy isn't working for you, because I can't even begin to tell you how many messages I get from women when we're talking about working together, or they reach out to me that they are in therapy or they have been in therapy. I think that every woman has tried therapy, it hasn't worked, or they're in it and it's not working. So I want to talk about why that is. And as a former therapist, I may sound like I'm shooting myself in the foot. I worked in the mental health industry for over 6 years as a registered professional counselor before changing directions, moving my business online as a coach and program facilitator and writing programs, and all of that I've been doing since 2019. But overall, I have been in this industry, really in the mental health industry, for over 13 years. And while I'm no longer a registered professional counselor, I still have the credentials, I still have the training under my belt, I still have the understanding and the experience, because when I'm working with women, I am using some of the therapeutic tools in the work that I do and in the program that I have for women and the cycle and my She's Moving On program. There is therapeutic tools and processes in those programs. What I actually do, though, that is more effective is to help women via coaching. So while I do help you to identify the emotional patterns and those types of things and how to shift the beliefs, a lot of the work that I do that creates the crazy momentum, fast shifts, is the coaching solution focused guidance. So I just want to add that in here. So I have the background as a therapist. I see that therapy is very valuable. It can be very valuable. And I'm going to talk about when that is the case and when it is not. So first of all, it's pretty common to outgrow a therapist, especially if you're someone that is actively doing your own inner work. Maybe you are reading books, doing the podcast, taking online courses, and you're learning a lot. And I know for me, I've gotten so much more out of a course or coaching than I ever have in like ongoing therapy. It does have its purpose. But the thing is you have to be working with someone who is, they're more educated in the area that you are needing help with. Otherwise, how's that going to help you? So if you're going to a therapist to get help on a gaslighting relationship and they have no training, no idea, no experience on what that is, how to help a woman disentangle from that, you're going to be further harmed, because then the interventions are communication and it takes two, and equalizing the problem as equally both are equally to blame. And then you start to look like the crazy unhinged one, right? And so that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's really just the therapy loop. It doesn't work. You've already done the sessions. You've probably done the journaling, and I'm a big proponent of journaling. I love journaling. But the reality is that most therapy isn't built to rewire your identity, shift your nervous system, shift your belief patterns, help you on a holistic level. Now, when I was a therapist, I was the first in my city, the only one that I created a holistic counseling practice. And so I did a lot of the soul work, which is the name of my counseling practice, as well as the holistic tools and holistic interventions, which is mind, body, spirit, emotion, and looking at how it is all connected. So unless you're working with someone that is able to offer that to you, it's going to be pretty hard to actually create some momentum forward. You might get some help around feeling validated, having a safe place to voice things. But if you're going week after week after week after week to talk about the same things over and over and over again, you're not actually moving forward, right? If something isn't working for you within a few sessions where you actually feel like you're getting some momentum, it's helping you get new insights, things are changing, you're not in the same situation, you're moving things forward. But typically, that's not what therapy does. Therapy helps you to connect the dots. It offers a place for you to process and put words to your experience. Sometimes, a good therapist can help call out patterns or help you, challenge certain belief systems or things if they're really good, if they're really skilled and really connected. Now, here's a shocking stat that I want to share with you is that I did a survey with those who have joined my current Unhooked experience audio sessions that you can still sign up for, by the way. The link is in the show notes. And I asked some questions around how much have you spent trying to feel better. So this includes things like therapy, books, taking online courses and stuff. Over 55% of those who took the survey said they have spent between $2,000 and $5,000 using these methods. And this is with the caveat that it has not created change. It has not helped them. They're still stuck in the same patterns. And then over 33% has spent over $5,000 in these things without creating real change. This is something to really be aware of. And so the other piece that women have also said around this is that they are also financially carrying their partner or overcompensating to keep the peace financially. And so they are dealing with those aspects that counseling not really going to help. Not going to help. You're going to sit there talking about stupid stuff that doesn't actually get to the root of the issues of why this is actually happening. There's financial costs to this, and these things are not looked at through therapy. And then when I looked at the survey results, I asked the question, how often do you feel like you're walking on eggshells regarding your relationship? And 88.9% said most days. So if most days you are walking on eggshells in your relationship, going to therapy is not going to do anything for you, because the root of the issues are the environment, but it's also your internal programming. Why are you walking on eggshells in the first place? Unless this guy's got a baseball bat and he's ready to actually physically harm you, what do you actually think he's going to do to you if you stop bending, stop turning into a pretzel, trying to please him, trying to fix him, trying to help him, pumping up his ego, staying silent, just letting shit happen, And so the walking on eggshells, we have to look at our own internal programming of why that's happening. Where did that actually start? Where did that originate? And so you're in therapy to talk about what he's doing, not about your response to it and why it's happening. And the other question that I asked is, when was the last time you felt safe, loved, and at peace in your relationship? And 77% said that they honestly can't remember. That is sad. That is heartbreaking. And so again, you go into couples therapy and you're going to have that all twisted around on you. This is the reason why I put this out was to get a feel for what women are experiencing, but also to actually help you, to think about these things. And you can think about these things yourself and just get honest and be like, yeah, I don't remember. And you go to therapy and they're going to equally put you at fault. And then he's going to say, well, I don't feel loved. I don't feel this. I don't feel safe. I'm walking on eggshells around you. You're the toxic one. And then you just go on and on, back and forth like a ping pong ball. It doesn't get you anywhere. And another question that I asked is, how much of yourself have you lost trying to make it work? 77% said a lot, I miss the old me, and 22% said I barely recognize myself anymore. And I also asked, how is your sleep lately? And 66.7% said interrupted but manageable. And 33% said terrible, tossing and turning with anxiety. And the other question I asked was, how often do you feel physically exhausted just from the emotional load? And 67.7% said every damn day. Again, how is going to therapy going to help you with your physical exhaustion? You can't do anything from a place of being tapped out.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Can't do anything. We have to start putting some fuel back in the tank here right now, like today, to start removing some of the emotional load, removing some of the stress load now, today, not when you figure out what you're doing, not when he changes, not when things start to get better, not when you know what you're doing or you've made your decision or you've left, now. Because if you keep saying, I am going to do some of these things or do something about my health, my situation, when I have more energy or when things aren't so stressful or when I don't have so much going on, that is never going to happen, because believe me, there is always going to be a reason why now is not a good time. I've worked with women who that's their shtick is, when's the right time? Now's not the right time. The time is now. If you are walking on eggshells every day, you're experiencing daily physical and emotional exhaustion, you have to do something now. This is a wake-up call, because it's not going to get better. In fact, it is going to get worse. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so these are things that typically are not worked on in therapy, because they don't have the time. You only got an hour, 50 minutes, right? And you've just spent however much money, $150, $175 for 50 minutes, and you don't have a plan, you don't have a framework, you don't have a map, you don't have a method, something you can go home and work on in between sessions. You don't have a way to reach out and ask for support when something comes up in your relationship. You gotta wait till the next week when that's already passed and it's maybe now he's love bombing you, and so you don't bother bringing it up anyway. This is why having the type of interactive support and having a method and things you can be doing on your own and having actual action steps to deal with your sleep, to deal with your self-care, to deal with your relaxation, to deal with your stress, to start unloading the emotional load, to start reducing your stress load, to start bringing some safety back into your body, and how to actually do that when you're in one of these situations. It is doable. It is possible. I understand there are levels of readiness that we need to go through in order to be ready to actually make a change. There are the levels of awakening, and I teach that in my programs around how do you ascend up this awakening ladder. And it doesn't have to take years, especially if you're looking in the right places. And it also doesn't mean that you have to make a decision about what you're going to do right away when you're not ready. I really believe that we need to be ready within our nervous system to actually implement and do the things we need to do to make those changes. When women come to work with me and they've already experienced decades, a lifetime of toxic cycles, they've tried everything, they don't know where else to turn, and they're actually ready to put the work in and do the work, they usually experience really rapid transformation, rapid shifts, and they get to clarity really quickly. And a lot of times these women exiting the relationship very soon after joining my program. Other times it can take months. I've seen it also take years. Everyone's journey is different. It's a matter of, are you ready to actually create the change? And get honest with yourself about that. Maybe you're not. Maybe it's, no, I'm not ready to make any change. And that's just where you're at. But you can move up the ladder, move up the ascension ladder, move up the transformation ladder by, number one, getting the right mentorship. Number two is actually taking action. And I know most of the women I work with, they have no problem with taking action. Where they're not taking action and doing things differently is with how they take care of themselves. How you take care of your nervous system, your emotional energy, your toxic thinking patterns, and how it is that you choose to interact within the dynamic. How you choose to continue to give your energy and attention to them rather than putting that toward yourself. And then what does that even look like? And then when you do, you're often guilt tripped, which is another way that women start to self-sabotage because they're so used to putting the other person first and putting all their energy and focus on the other person, their partner, that as they start redirecting that energy toward what's serving them now, then they're called selfish. They're called, they're not putting anyone else first kind of thing. And they're narcissistic. And then they get guilty. They feel guilty. And so the guilt is just another way that they control you when they're not seeing results anymore with how they try to control you. Especially as you move up the ladder and you start actually making those changes, they catch on pretty quick and they will start scrambling to use different tactics. And as I said, one of them is guilt. And that's a sign that you've actually started changing the game, actually, is when they start to kind of freak out a little bit. It's like, wait a minute, she's caught on to this. No, we cannot have that. So this is a little off topic, more into, the dynamics that I see women ending up in. But the biggest is the therapy trap, the therapy loop, and then the loop of, is he changing? Is he changing this time? And then they feel guilty for taking actions to leave the relationship because now their partner is, quote unquote, the changed man. How can I leave him now when he's now doing everything that I want him to do? And these men can keep that up for a while. They can keep up that charade for a while. But if you're really attuned to yourself and you really understand the way that they work and what to look for, you're not going to fall for it because you'll realize, this is about like 5% of what it is I actually need. And here I am thinking, oh, yay, this is actually turning in my direction, when you're realizing that 95% of it is still shit. And so you've got to be able to see the reality and see the whole thing as a picture when you're looking at, is he changing? Because this is the thing I hear all the time. I feel bad leaving. I feel bad planning leaving because he's made some changes. And then what do you do with that? This is again what I'm actually talking about this in session 1 of Unhooked. It's about your cycle within the cycle. And that is a cycle that women get into, is I'm ready to leave. I pull back. I threaten to leave. I throw out all these ultimatums. He suddenly flips a switch. He's acting normal, quote unquote normal, or he's being a good guy or whatever. And you can get clear on what those are for you. And then what do? You stop looking for a way out. You stop talking to mentors or getting help. If you're in my programs, you might abandon the program, no longer go into the modules, not want to do the work because you don't want to rock the boat because things are good right now. And so you have to be able to identify what your pattern is. And that's the work I do with women in End the Cycle. The first module around the detoxing from gaslighting, it is about seeing their cycle and also your cycle. But again, you can learn more about that inside of the Unhooked experience. You can register at the link in the show notes here and still dive in. If you are working with a therapist that cannot move the needle forward, you don't have a plan of action and in where you're going between sessions. If all you're doing is going once a week for 50 minutes to talk about the problems, but you don't walk away with any new insights, any new clarity, any new action steps, a plan, anything. You a lot of times walk away feeling worse than when you got there. Stop wasting your money. Stop throwing Jell-O at the wall, hoping it's going to stick. Just stop doing what's not working. And then if you have a partner that's like, oh, well, you're the one giving up on it, I was willing to go to therapy, again, that's more manipulation, because they're utilizing that as a way to have you still in the fold, a way to manipulate you into it. And then the therapist gives you homework or things to do together as a couple, not understanding what this really is, this dynamic. So, for an example, one woman was given the advice to schedule sex, and she had sexual aversion trauma around this in her relationship. And then the partner is like, well, you're the one that's not trying. You're the one not willing to do the work. And so this is all your fault. That kind of stuff. Or you need to have 20 minutes of quality conversation time every night where you're just connecting. So then you try to nail them down for this because they're not going to initiate it. They're not going to initiate it, or it's just not going to happen naturally because it's not part of your relationship to sit down and just connect and talk about your day or whatever. And so you're chasing them down to do this homework, and they're not wanting to participate in it very much, right? So you're still doing all the emotional labor. So if this is not convincing enough why therapy is not the answer, then I don't know what else to tell you. Keep throwing your money at things that aren't working. Keep putting energy into something that is not the solution for this particular situation. And just keep going through the loops and keep going through the cycle and keep experiencing what you're doing. Sometimes we have to go through all that and learn through experience to realize, oh, this is actually not effective. And then you're like, well, what do I do now? And so that's usually where women end up in my DMs, inbox, email. Where do I go from here? I've done all of this. There's nothing else for me to try. Maybe that's where you're at. And if you are and you're ready for a solution, then I invite you to come into my End the Cycle program. The link is in the show notes here if you want to dive in. And I'll chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.